Brad Pitt, a name that once stood for triumph and a life that behind the curtain carried a deep and lingering sorrow. For decades, he was Hollywood's untouchable leading man. The face on 1,000 magazine covers, the presence that could quiet a room by simply walking into it. Beauty, money, fame, celebrated romances. He seemed to have everything. Yet away from the spotlight sat a very different Brad. Failed marriages, children who pulled away. Years numbed by alcohol. The lights dazzled outside. Inside the dressing room grew silent. The smile that captivated millions slowly learned to live with pain. At 61, as he moves into the late chapters of his story, his sadness feels sharper than ever. Will Brad Pitt finally find peace or spend the rest of his life trapped by old ghosts? If you remember Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston, or Angelina Jolie, tap like as we rewind. Every tragedy has a beginning. His began in the heartland. Born on 1-1-819-63 in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and raised in Springfield, Missouri, Brad grew up the eldest, in a devout Baptist home. His father, William, ran a trucking company with strict order. His mother, Jane, was loving but bounded by duty. By 6, Brad already knew how to measure words and keep the peace. By 10, he'd perfected the mask. Charming. At school, contained at home, he would later talk about carrying a lot of guilt and shame. The kind that comes from feeling you must be good, composed, unshakably fine. Nothing on the outside looked dramatic. That's what makes it ache. Church on Sundays rules every day. Silence, where tenderness might have been. In pews, he held still. In class, he tried harder. In his room, he stared at the ceiling and wondered if anyone truly saw him. That double life, golden at a distance, restless up close, became the pattern, adored by millions later, yet always waiting for a softer place to land. Movies became oxygen. Dark theaters in Springfield turned feelings loose that weren't allowed. To speak at the dinner table, he enrolled at the University of Missouri in 1982. Journalism, advertising, but classrooms felt like a cage. In 1986, just 2 credits shy of the degree, he chose the uncertain road. I felt it was out there for me, he said. He packed a battered Datsun 325, some cassettes, and drove to Los Angeles. The early years were humbling, delivering refrigerators, chauffeuring strippers to bachelor parties, sweating in a giant chicken suit outside El Loco. Every dollar went to acting class with Roy London, who gave him a rare gift, permission to feel. Small parts followed. Dallas Growing Pains, 21 Jump Street, 1987, 1990. He worried he'd become just the cute guy, a face without a voice. Then, 1991 happened. Thelma and Louise gave him less than 15 minutes of screen time and a lifetime of instant recognition. The cowboy hat, the sly smile, the wink. Overnight, he became a poster. The break he'd begged for came with a trap. He won access to the castle and a cage labeled pretty. He fought to shake it off. A river runs through it, hinted at depth. Legends of the Fall gave him tragic grandeur. C7 Anne brought menace. Fight Club turned him into a cultural earthquake. By 40, with the likes of Troy, he wasn't just in movies. He defined an era's idea of masculinity, earning $20-30 million a film. Yet inside, he later admitted, I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I spent years running from myself behind alcohol. With Plan B Entertainment, co-founded at the start of the 2000s, he proved he wasn't only a face. As producer, he shepherded daring films that won Oscars and changed conversations. And in 2019, at 55, he won the acting Oscar for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He smiled for the cameras. Later, the ache returned. Trophies can't quiet certain rooms. Early romances flickered and vanished. With Jill Skolin, the end was sudden and searing. With E.G. Daily, warmth faded to mist. Robin Given brought tabloid chaos. Christina Applegate's public exit at the 1989 MTV Awards stung. Juliette Lewis felt different. He was 27, she's 17 when it began. And years later, he still said gently, I still love the woman. Then came Gwyneth Paltrow. They met in 1994 on CNN, got engaged in 1996, and split in 1997. She later said she wasn't ready. He was quietly devastated for years. By 1998, Brad was Hollywood's golden boy. Jennifer Aniston was America's sweetheart. Day 5th, he proposed at a Sting concert on ERO 7/29/2000. They married in Malibu beneath 50,000 flowers. A gospel choir floating over the Pacific. Fireworks lighting the night. The world exhaled. Maybe love could last here. Behind the walls were different pressures. Jennifer dreamed of children. Brad spoke of a big family, too. Years passed, room stayed quiet. The tabloids were merciless. To her, scrutinizing, speculating. By 2003, she called him a big love in my life, tender, but telling. In 2005, they separated. The public cast it as betrayal, crowned her the wronged wife, and turned on him. He lost a partner, and for a time, the public's embrace. Later, he apologized for a 2011 interview line that hurt her. Too late to heal what had already torn. On Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 2004, lightning hit to Brad. Angelina Jolie was untamed, where Jennifer was steady. A jolt where life had grown numb. To them it felt like partnership. To the world scandal, Brangelina arrived, loved and loathed at once. The family grew. Maddox adopted before Brad Zahara, Ethiopia. Pax, Vietnam. Then Shiloh in Namibia, and twins, Knox and Vivian, in France. 6 children in 7 years. Airports, red carpets, humanitarian trips. A Global tribe. He said fatherhood was everything. She said he was a wonderful dad. The strain crept in anyway. Schedules, moves, the glare. Angelina underwent preventive surgeries after BRCA1. He stood by her. They married at Chateau Maril in 2014. Their children drew on her veil, an image of pure tenderness, yet cracks deepened. In 2009 to 2016, a private jet flight turned into a breaking point. What happened has lived in sealed documents and spares. Statements. Days later, she filed for divorce. I did what I had to do for the safety of my family, she said. For her, it was survival. For him, it was devastation. He stopped drinking, went to therapy, and admitted I was drinking too much. The deepest wound wasn't the split. It was fatherhood fracturing. Custody battles stretched over years. Distances. With Maddox and Pax hardened, ties with Zahara and Shiloh changed. On her 18th birthday in 2024, Shiloh filed to drop Pitt from her surname. He once said, I hit the lottery with my kids, and later murmured, and then I wasted it. Miraval, the French estate where they wed, became another battlefield. Business disputes, lawsuits, bitter filings. What had been vows turned into paperwork. A 2011 interview line implying his marriage felt dull, which he publicly walked back and apologized for, kept haunting him in headlines. The press can be a courtroom without appeal. The harshest loss came on 08-05-2025. His mother, Jane Etta Pitt, died at 84. To the world, it was a long life well lived. To him, it was the last unshakable bond. She'd packed the sandwiches. For the 1986 drive west, written letters when he was broke, held his hand on big nights, including his 2019 Oscar. You did it, Bradley, she'd whispered. At her funeral in Missouri, he sat with a grief no award could soften. She was the only one who never left me, he told a friend. On paper, he's still a giant. Mayan estimated $400 million, a $12 million. Los Angeles home, the cliff-carved D.L. James House in Carmel, over $40 million. A collection of cars, Porsche Taycan, Tesla Model S, Cadillac Escalade, vintage Harley-Davidsons, a Cirrus SR22. He flies, he collects, he creates, but houses he once filled with family have new owners. The Beverly Hills estate he shared with Jennifer bought for $12 million, later sold for far more. His longtime lost compound sold in 2023 for $39 million. Miraval is tied up in court. He keeps working because storytelling is how he breathes. Wolves 2024 reunited him with George Clooney. In 2025, he headlined F1, which sped past $600 million. Worldwide, through Plan B, he continues backing films that matter. 12 years, a slave. Moonlight. In interviews, he's candid about sobriety, therapy, yoga, and a Mediterranean diet, tools that keep him steady. He's also honest about living with propagnosia, face blindness. People think I'm distant. I just can't remember faces. Since 2024, he shared his LA home with jewelry designer Inz Damon. Quiet dinners, concerts, a life lived off stage when possible. It's companionship, not spectacle. And yet the absences remain. Children's laughter that no longer fills. The hallways, a mother's voice that will never pick up again. Photos on the wall that time can't warm. He once said, fame is not freedom. At 61, the cage isn't red carpets, it's memory. Here is where tragedy bends toward testimony. He didn't fold, he got sober. He shows up to therapy. He keeps creating, he tries quietly, daily, imperfectly. That constancy is his real achievement. Perhaps his legacy won't be beauty or even the Oscars, but resilience. Idolized and blamed, cheered and shamed. He keeps walking. The tragedy isn't that Brad Pitt failed, it's that he succeeded beyond imagination and still lost what mattered most. The applause will fade, estates will sell, cars and watches will pass to other hands, golden statues will gather dust. What endures is the image of a man who had everything, lost most of it, and still searches for peace. The question lingers, and only time can answer it. Will the golden boy of Hollywood ever find the quiet he sought since Springfield? Before you go, tell us which love left the deepest mark on Brad Pitt. Jennifer, Angelina, or the children whose voices he still hopes to hear. If this journey moved you, like and subscribe as we continue to revisit the lives of legends whose struggles mirror our own.